What's going on? And welcome into Pels and Whistles, presented by Bet Online, right here on the Believe Network. I'm Daniel Salerson alongside Rel Myers, and the West Coast, not the best coast, for your New Orleans Pelicans, losing last night to the Sacramento Kings. They lose 2 of 3 on the West Coast trip, beating Portland, losing to Golden State and Sacramento, and now are on the outside looking in when it comes to the play-in. They are 12th in the Western Conference. Plenty of teams bundled up, but right now, if the season ended today, the Pelicans would be off to Cancun. Rel, how's it
Yeah.
going? I don't know what else to say. We were kind of talking before, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, here we go again.
Boo. That's what I have to
Yeah,
say. Boo, boo everything, boo everybody. And I thought that last night, um, they didn't get off to a sluggish start like they
right.
normally do. I think they went on, got a little bit of a lead. They ended up, cutting the lead down to 3 at the end of the first. But I mean, we were on top at the end of the first. But in that time, across the end of the first quarter and the beginning of the second quarter, they allowed a 12-0 run. And it's like, all right, well, don't know what happened, but uh yeah, they went to halftime tied. And I just thought, when I went to bed at halftime, I was like, well, this could go either way. I wasn't expecting to wake up and see that we had another one of those third quarters.
Yeah, it was bad.
But there were a lot of things I saw in the first half that I did like a lot. I will say that. I'll focus on those things
Mm.
before we get into the bad stuff. But I'm assuming you also didn't catch the second half or maybe even any of the game at all.
I caught a little bit of the third quarter, and that's when I
Ooh.
had enough
Oh
of
yeah.
the third quarter. I was
Uh,
already up anyways, and I was like, you know what? Let me go through some pain. And
looks like
there
they
it
had enough
was.
too.
Yeah, they had enough too. The third quarter just did them in. Turnovers, the offense. Again, when they get cold, they get cold.
Yep.
And against a Sacramento team that is really good offensively, you can't afford to go on a bunch of cold streaks like they did. In the first half, you mentioned, I thought they played pretty well, besides allowing Kevin Herter to look like Ray Allen out there. But other than that, I thought they did okay. A lot of defensive miscues. I just think,
Hmm.
God, there's just so many things going wrong that we really didn't see last year when this team was as healthy as they can be. And again, granted, there was no Zion, there was no
Yeah.
Larry, there was no Jose. So you're missing some folks there. But for me right now, it's the spacing. For me, it's just not being able to get the offense clicking on all cylinders. And I thought had a great game. They had to go to Herb at the 5, which is now like a new alert on Twitter. When he starts playing the 5. Again, there were some good things, but it's hard to take away the positives when this team is, they're 8-20 since January 1st. And we talked
Yeah.
about it in our last podcast. They're not careful on this West Coast trip with all these teams bundled up. And I don't want to be happy about being sort of right on that, but they could be on the
Yeah.
outside looking in, and just the reality of it. That's where they are right now.
Yeah. I think it's really tough because by default, I'm always comparing this season to last season. And this morning I
Right.
was asking somebody, if this team is largely the same roster we had last season, like for the most part, yeah, there's a couple different people, and you've got a full season of CJ as opposed to, getting him at the trade deadline. But what changed? Like, what happened to this team? What happened to the energy? What happened to the effort? They just look bad. And I don't know how they ended up looking like a worse team this year than they were last year. And so there were things like Kyra last night. Kyra had a really, really shifty move at the basket where he went up and under, and he got a
Yeah.
real nice layup there. And people are like, oh, it's what do you know? When a guy gets minutes, he can he can improve and he can show you some stuff. And I'm like, yeah, true, but
That was his
I
only
don't
bucket
think.
though.
Yeah.
He was
Was
1
that
for
really
7.
it? Oh my god. And it was the most difficult. It was the most like, why can't we get easy baskets? I watch these other games and see these other teams, and it's like it's not even enjoyable anymore because I'm constantly comparing. And they say comparison is the thief of joy. And it really is, because I'm watching other
Yeah.
teams and I'm like, well, why can't we do that? Why aren't we getting easy baskets? Why is everything so difficult? And that says a lot that was his only basket. I didn't even realize that was it, especially because I went to bed at halftime and I didn't look at the box score. I just saw the final score and I knew what was up. But traded a couple good things. He had a possession where he dribbled between the legs, pulled up off the dribble for a three, splash. Then the next player, the one after that, they dished him the ball on the wing and he just shot it. And I'm like, yeah, let that thing fly. And it went in again, splash. And I'm like, hey, the shot's looking good. But there
He
was
took
so
nine
much.
threes,
Yeah.
which is
Shoot
fine.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying he needs to be 9 threes is
Yeah.
perfectly fine for him. 4 of
Yeah.
9 from 3, 17 points. He didn't get really a lot out of CJ. He struggled. 14
Hmm.
points, 6 of 14, 1 of 5. Brandon is starting to look like the Brandon of old when he is healthy, and he's starting to
Yeah.
feel healthy, I feel like. But it's putting a lot of pressure on him and CJ. They kind of have to take over for what you're missing with Zion. And it's
Yeah.
not really fair, but that's why those two are your top two players out there right now. And if one's off, I feel like that kind of tilts the game a little bit. And I feel like with CJ being off last night, kind of hampered them a little bit.
Hmm.
11 threes last night, 11 of 29, but your bench goes 0 of 7 from 3. Kyra and Dyson, who are this is their opportunity to get minutes, go
Yeah.
a combined 2 of 10 for 5 points. It's just, but that's your rotation right now without Jose and
Yeah.
Larry and Zion. Is Najee
Hmm.
Jackson, Kyra, and Dyson off the bench. You
Yeah.
don't have a lot of reliable options out there.
And
And
no
it's
Jay
nothing against
Rich because
them.
he's been out for
And no
personal
John,
reasons.
yeah, exactly. So you're missing very important pieces right now, and you know
Yeah.
we can blame some of that for that. But we talked about at the beginning of the year how much depth this team has, and it just doesn't seem like you're seeing it right now,
No.
or it's being tested right now, and it's not exactly what you had in mind. So
Yeah.
um, it was disappointing. Yet I will also give Sacramento credit; they're a very good basketball team, and they are a very good offensive basketball team with them scoring
Hmm.
127, 123 points last night. So there's a reason why they're third in the West. So I think you have to give credit where credit's due.
For
But it's
sure.
just where the Pelicans are at right now that makes it so frustrating that they're 31 and 34 after, at one point being a 1 seed. They were a 3 seed for a little bit.
Yep.
And now you don't know whether they're going to make the playoffs or not. That's the most disappointing thing. And the schedule
Yeah.
this week does not get any easier. Dallas
Mm-mm.
tomorrow, then you have Oklahoma City and Portland on a home back to back. Those two games are two teams that you're battling with in that big clump of teams trying to get into
Yep.
the play-in.
Yep.
And no one's tanking out of those teams. I mean, they're sometimes putting in, sitting players and resting, whatever. But, Oklahoma City with a year they didn't have any expectations for them are like, yeah, let's go in and do this. And Portland, you can't really figure out, and they just beat Portland on the road. So hopefully you can match that at home. But Dallas
Yeah.
tomorrow is reeling a little bit. They're due for a win. They're 2-5 with Kyrie and Luca, so you know how they're going to show up
Hmm.
tomorrow on national television against the Pelicans. So it'll be curious to see how they respond at home this week. But again, if they're not careful this week, and we said it again last week,
Yeah.
um, they could be digging themselves in a hole that they can't overcome with just a handful of games left after that.
They it would be extremely helpful for them to, sweep this homestand, but I'm not confident that that's possible at all. I don't see us beating Dallas. Just with the way we've been playing lately, even though we'll be at home, it's not like we get a home whistle.
Yeah.
So, I'm not really sure that that's going to be a pretty game. Um I'm not necessarily looking forward to it. In our last 5 games are 1-4. And something I noticed, just overall through the season, we went on that 10-game losing streak. We were 27 and 18, and we lost 10 straight. And then we won 3 straight when we broke that streak. But we haven't had any consecutive wins since then. Like we'll lose a couple, win one, lose a couple more, maybe even lose 4 straight, win one. And it's at some point we're running out of time, right? There's 17 games left. You're
Yeah.
absolutely running out of time if you can't string together several consecutive wins. And I know earlier on, before the season started, we're looking at the roster and everyone's talking about how good we are on paper, how good this roster is, and things like that. And there's a lot of people who I know. I want to say the line might have been, I don't remember what the line was, but almost everyone I know took the over on how many wins they were going to win this season. And last season they went 36 and 46.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they started 1-12. They started 3 in 16. But from that point forward, they were 33 and 30. And right now, 31-34 with 17 games left. And I think it's sad for the people who bet on them to get the over. I don't think they're going to get the over, and I don't even know if they can win 6 more games out of these 17 to beat your win total from last season. It's just it's not looking that great. I'd love to be wrong. I would
You
be
don't think they can
happy to
get
be
6
wrong.
games?
They've
I
won
think they can get 6.
5. They've won 5 since January, like whatever day that was when we were 27-18. They won 5 games since then. Not even 5. My math is wrong. That's 4, isn't it? That's 4 games between 27 and 31. So, yeah, I don't know.
I think they can come up with 5, and I'm gonna go through and see if I can come up with 5. I think they can take both
Yeah.
Rockets games.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, I think they can take Spurs. I think they can take
Yeah,
Charlotte.
they should be able to. Yeah.
That's 4. Um, I think they can take the Blazers over the weekend.
Mhm.
There's 5 right there.
Mhm.
You go to April. April's tough. April is you got well, it depends on when Zion comes back, if he comes back.
Mhm.
That could
Yep.
change it too. That's a big variable we gotta keep in mind. But
Yep.
the end of April, it's Clippers, Kings, Grizzlies, Knicks, Timberwolves. And I have a feeling all those teams, including Minnesota, are all gonna be fighting for seeding still because it's so clumped up. The
Mhm.
Kings might be the only one. Well, no, they might be fighting with Memphis for a 2 or 3 seed. So I don't want to go down this murderer's row of a schedule there in April and also try to pick out wins because that is something I used to do in the past and go week by week and go they go 2-1 this week or they can go
Yep.
3 and yeah.
I wouldn't even
Not
bother
going to
with
do that.
it.
Not going to do. What was their win? So you don't know what their win total was this year
Oh,
from
what the line was? I
yeah.
don't know. I don't know why I want to say it was like 48, but that sounds too high. Um,
Maybe 45, maybe 45 and 37.
Somewhere around there, somewhere around the mid 40s. I don't think it was low 40s. It had to be mid to high 40s.
Either
It
way
definitely
they
wasn't
had to go
50.
like 14 and 3 in order to do that.
Yeah, how can they do it? We were supposed to be getting an update on Zion this week, maybe today. I don't know. Um, but even then, it's not like they're gonna give the update and say, "All right, he's playing on Saturday." Like that's not gonna
We're going
happen.
to get the
So
Michael Jordan letter that says I'm back.
and he's posting these cryptic things and he's posting all the 26-year-old Biggie Small songs and pictures of himself on Instagram and stuff. And like, nobody knows what it means, but it's provocative.
It keeps you in tune with what he's
Yeah,
doing, that's for sure.
gets the people going.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well, we'll have to look on Bet Online to see what the total over under wins are for the
yeah,
Pelicans here remaining. And Bet Online remains your number one source for all your sports betting this season. Everything from pro and college basketball, March Madness right around the corner, UFC, MMA, NHL, and more. You'll always find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at Bet Online with live betting options, free contests, and live scores for almost any sport or game imaginable. Bet Online is truly the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite leagues and events. Head to the website today. Use your mobile device to join and receive your 50% off welcome bonus with your first deposit. Use the promo code BELIEVE. That's BLEAV to receive your rewards. BetOnline.ag, where the game starts. So, where do we start with this Pelican squad? How can they get over them? How can they have? Let's just start with a winning homestand. Be the
yeah,
goal. Take 2 of 3 this week.
that'd
How do
be
they do
nice.
that?
That would be nice. I don't know. Um, I just pulled up basketball reference and I'm looking at the schedule and everything. And yeah, that 10 game skid, if they had gone, I don't know, 3-7, maybe even 2-8, they could still be a few spots higher than what they are now if they just hadn't dropped 10 straight. And that just was such a dark time. And this is really coming back to bite us. And it's like I saw someone say earlier, the Pelicans are this season is like last season, but in reverse, and
Yeah.
that's kind of accurate. It's like they started out good, it started out strong, and now when it's crunch time in the season and it's time to like really start solidifying yourself in the Western Conference, things are just crumbling when they should be like every game's win now, and they're not winning now.
No, they are not.
It's a rough.
It's very rough, and it's even hard to come up with like the words to describe what's going on right now. I think everyone's
Yeah.
kind of, I think it's in shock is a nice way to put it, just based on
Yeah.
the expectations of this team. And you're right. When you
Mhm.
start playing so well and had high hopes, and you're like, oh, you're doing all this, wait till BI and Zion are fully healthy, and it's going to be even better. And then you finally get BI back way later than you thought he was going to be. Then you
Yeah.
lose Zion when he was playing. I mean, he was an all-star starter, playing really good basketball. Now you just don't know what this team is yet. Like,
Yeah.
the identity of this team, you still don't know until you see both of them on the court for a prolonged amount of time and not just a 10-game sample size. So that's what at least I want to look for here in the final 17 games is, one, how many of those is Zion going to play? And then
Mhm.
two, how do they look in those games? Because again, with the expectations now, I think temper it a little bit. Let's be fair. I don't think this team is going on a big run. I don't think fans should expect it as of
Mhm.
now. So you have to use these final 17 as an evaluation process.
Yeah.
What do you like? Who are you going to keep? Who are you going to trade? What is that missing piece, assuming that you have your healthy superstars available for you next year?
Mhm.
Because and also, if you don't have them, you have to maybe assume that they're going to each miss 10 to 15 games. Who are you going to add to eliminate a huge drop off when those two go down, like you're
Yeah.
seeing right now? Because you can't afford to have another season like you did this year. And I know we're kind of acting like the season's already over, which is not. But you have to change the way how you watch these games, I think, right now, because
Yeah.
one, you want to see how this team looks, and you have to start looking in the mirror and going, all right, let's start evaluating for, do you play Kyra a little more, Dyson a little bit more run?
Mhm.
Um, when Jose and Larry come back, where's this team going to be at? When Zion comes back, if he comes back, where's this team going to be at? So
Right.
if they're out of it, or obviously they will chase a play-in spot. It's not like they're going to tank and just say, we're not going to worry about this. But I think you have to change kind of how you look at things, in order to figure out what you need, because next year you can't have this. Not with
Yeah.
this roster, not with the players that you have. It needs to change. So I'm going to look at these last 17 as a way of evaluating everyone on the roster and figuring out which
Mhm.
which players stick and which ones you might have to think about getting rid of or trading.
Yeah. I was speaking with someone on Twitter this morning about how I've seen people say um they can't possibly move forward with Zion and Brandon Ingram both being injury prone. And like it sucks. And it'd be great to have both of them play together, but if you can't count on them to be playing together, um, I don't really know what else to do. I think you can only go on for so long saying, "Oh, we haven't seen enough. We haven't seen them play enough games together," and then you have to ask yourself, "Well, why is that?"
Yeah,
So, I would hate to have to see either one of them go, but at the end of the day, no matter who's on the roster, I'm going to root for the team, and I need the team to be winning. And if our best players are going to consistently not be available, then I'm not going to be having a good time. And I'm paying for these tickets, and the prices are going up on the tickets, and the wins are going down. So it's not a good combination. People are not happy. Um, so yeah, we they have some huge decisions that they need to make in the off season. But really, I just think overall we need upgrades here and there at almost every position. Really, we need some more perimeter defense, and if we feel like Dyson and Herb are enough with that, then we need some interior defense, and we need to start focusing on that too. So I don't know. I'm glad that I'm not a general manager, and it is not my decision to make.
yeah. I feel like it's crazy how the conversation has shifted so much within the last
Yeah,
couple of months with this team, and how our conversations have shifted even just after this past week, when you still had a little bit of hope. All right, take care of business on the West Coast, at least go 2-1, see what
hmm,
happens. And now the fact when you just look at the standings and see that you're on the outside, it is kind of that wake up
yeah,
call that you didn't want to have. You want to put the snooze on it and say, give me 5 more minutes, and hopefully this team will be back in it once you wake up. But right now, that's not the case. But they have an opportunity tomorrow. Um, Take on a Mavericks team that, again, Luca and Kyrie are playing out of their mind, but it takes more than two players to win. And right now, I think they're trying to figure out how they can optimize those two with also getting the others involved, to help them go far. Because if not, they could be in trouble when it comes to the
yeah,
playoffs. So an opportunity, especially being at home, You played pretty well at home. So this could be the make or break week. This could tell us everything we need to know about where they stand in the play-in by the end of the week, especially Saturday and Sunday against the Thunder and the on the Blazers. So,
Yeah.
well, I didn't think this was going to be how our podcast went today, but it's kind of a shrug your shoulders, try to figure out what the heck is happening, and
Yeah.
hopefully we'll have some more answers for you on Thursday. Maybe we'll get an update from Zion. Who knows? But if not, either way, we'll be back with you on Thursday to recap Pelicans, Mavericks, and plenty more as well. So, Rel, I appreciate the time as always, and let's hope for a better 17 games ahead.
I got my fingers crossed.
All right. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you can join us on Thursday. Again, rate, subscribe, whatever you can to help us with our podcast. We appreciate every one of you for making time out of your busy day to listen to us. Until Thursday, for Rel, I'm Daniel. Thanks for listening to Pels and Whistles presented by Bet Online right here on the Believe Network.